Look, ladies and gents, boys and girls all over the world. Do it like I'm doing it for TV, yeah, you heard. But man of the year 2 times and a third. Chatting with the sheriff, yeah, you gon' learn. Sheriff podcast where respect is earned. Wanna be a guest, gotta wait your turn. Oh yeah, come and kick it with the kick it with the sheriff when the stars emerge. Control the game with my fist, now it's stripes. Spitting chicklets, had to kick it, I went viral for life. Pack a lunch when I come, 4th all-time fights. Yeah, 523, that's paying the price. Holy sheriff round here with my name shining bright. Lights, camera, action, Danny G make it right. Walking to the room, chatting with the sheriff advice. 2-time record holder, so you better think twice. Sheriff badge, spun the bucket on ice. Sheriff badge on the jersey, meet me at Center Ice. Oh yeah, meet me at Center Ice. Yeah, you'll go to sleep for the night. Sleep. Whoa, doing it like I'm doing it for TV. Oh yeah, look, ladies and gents, boys and girls all over the world. Do it like I'm doing it for TV, yeah, you heard. But man of the year 2 times and a third. Chatting with the sheriff, yeah, you gon' learn. Sheriff podcast where respect is earned. Wanna be a guest, gotta wait your turn. Oh yeah, come and kick it with the kick it with the sheriff when the stars emerge.
Welcome everybody to an exclusive edition of The Sheriff. Boy oh boy, would Don Cherry be proud, and do I ever have a treat for you. Now ladies and gentlemen, the term pay your dues is a very popular term. My guest tonight is the blueprint for that term, and we are going to explain all of that tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world, I would like to introduce to you my guest tonight. He hails from Teeswater, Ontario. At 6'1", 225 pounds, he is a heavyweight. He played over 400 professional hockey games. He is a former Toronto Maple Leaf. He played pro in 3 different countries. Former pro boxer and all-around great guy. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, my good friend, Mr. Nathan Perrott. How are you doing today, my man?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Man,
thanks for inviting me.
I'll tell you one thing, Nathan. Thank you for coming on, because when I try to think back out of all the guests that I have, as we mentioned about 10 minutes ago, I think that you're the guy that I fought the most, and I'm the guy that you fought the most out of the guys that we fought.
Yeah.
So the connection was there. It was a little bit different a few years back, but I find that the more battles that I've had with guys like Brandon Sugar Sugden, big shout out to Brandon Sugar Sugden. You know, he's been on the show. I think you and him are very even with the amount of times that I've been in combat with you guys. But I just think that the connection is so cool. The fact that we're friends now, I think that it's absolutely priceless, man. So thank you again for coming on.
Oh,
I think you mentioned it was about a two and a half hour drive for you. See, ladies and gentlemen, I have very, very dedicated guests. You know, Mr. Nathan Perrott, this guy. Now, first of all, Nathan, I don't want you to punch me out. So I know sometimes when I say names, it might be a little bit off. I want you to pronounce Nathan Perrott the way that you like it said.
That's I want you to say it. I say Nathan Perrott. Phonetically it should be Perrott, but I go with Perrott.
So technically it should be Perrott?
Yeah, I think phonetically if you...
So wouldn't your grandfather be really upset that we're saying Perrott?
No, that's my family adopted it years ago. That's why I went with Perrott.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they told me it was when I was a kid.
And then, so if I was an announcer, it'd be goal scored by Nathan Perrott.
Yeah.
Okay, right on. So Nathan, I'm the type of guy where I like to go right to the beginnings, buddy. I like to explain to my viewers and listeners exactly how these big characters were created. So I'm a big believer that it's all about the family. It's all about the hometown. Let's talk about Teeswater, my friend. Now, you mentioned before the recording that, did you say that there's no hospital in Teeswater, or is that?
So when I was playing for the Leafs, I lived at Palace Pier, Right?
Okay.
And there's about 1,400 residents there, which was really weird for me.
Yep.
Because Teeswater only has 1,000 people living there, right?
Okay.
So I lived in a building that had more people than my hometown, right? I think it's a little bigger now, but Teeswater is a small little town in Bruce County, and it was great being there, growing up there, and got into did a lot of dirt biking and playing out in the forests and that kind of grew up farming and stuff like that, and working on farms.
So the one thing that stands out to me there is farming in general, honest work, very hard work, but it almost like develops characters, I find, in the farming culture in general. Like, it develops hardworking characters. There's McMorrow cousins that were and are dairy farmers in the Orillia, Lindsay, Ontario area. And man, I just remember going there as a kid. My mom would have like me, Patrick, Liam, sometimes all of us visit our cousins on the farm. And we would really be able to see firsthand what discipline's all about. Like, they were dairy farmers, so they're up at, I believe it was 5:30 in the morning, doing all their things, getting all the cows going. And man, it was it's very different from a city life. And obviously, you were exposed to that at an early age.
Yeah, and it was it taught you a lot of discipline and hard work and. Yeah, and learn how to deal with different smells and that kind of stuff. But
the smells.
Yeah.
Yes, man. So that's a whole other level.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that I find most interesting is that, like, I've never really understood this, Nathan. So maybe you could explain it to me. But like, I know it's a different topic, so don't think I'm too weird. But manure. So. Manure is droppings from an animal, correct?
Yes.
And it helps. It's like a fertilizer type of thing that helps growth of like grass and plants and whatnot, correct?
Yeah, the nitrogen inside helps with the growth.
So, like, is it only animal droppings, or do human droppings do the same thing? I know it's weird, but I gotta ask.
I think there's some bioenergy stuff that uses like sewage waste. I believe. I'm not really well versed on it, but I don't know. But it's a circular thing, right? You eat your food, and
I had to ask, man.
Helps make the food, right?
Hey, knowledge is power, so it's very good to know that.
It does stink though.
So now I'm so hyper that I'm going off topic right off the hop. So Teeswater, Ontario. I want to talk more about that. I also want to talk about the fam, buddy. I want to talk about mom and dad. I want to talk about when you actually started skating. Can you tell the viewers and listeners when you first put on the wheels?
Yeah, I was 4. I was 4 years old, and young guy in Teeswater, and my dad actually passed away when I was 4, and that's when I started playing hockey. But
very sorry to hear that, buddy.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
So 4 years old, eh?
Yeah. So and when I was 3, I got my glasses back when I was a young kid, and so I got teased a lot, and I didn't really like playing hockey because I got teased so much and stuff. So I don't remember this, but my mom says I would cry on the ice, and she'd just leave me out there, and eventually I would, the hour would be up, and I'd get to come off. But I do remember, like, as I got older, I started getting better. But I loved playing road hockey. So I'd go out and play road hockey with my older brother and all the older kids, and I'd get beat up pretty good and come in with a bloody nose and just get wiped up and go back out and get more blood.
Right on.
So yeah.
I find it interesting that you said that you were crying on the ice because, the famous story about my first day on the ice, man, is my mom brings me to Scarborough Malvern. And it's house league, and it's my first year, and obviously I'm being a big baby, and I'm crying and whatever. I'm skating with one leg, pushing off with one leg, and I wasn't a happy man at that exact moment. But you know what, Nathan? All it takes sometimes is a little bit of a distraction. A coach came over and said, "Sean, can you help me get these pucks together?" Yeah. And off I went, and I was happy from that moment on. And You know what? I'm going to have to talk to my mom after the show, and we're going to have to figure out who exactly that coach was, because it was a turning point in my life. Yeah. And it looks like the Edmonton Oilers, ladies and gentlemen, have scored a goal here against the Dallas Stars. It is a capacity crowd here at Bottomline. You know, we're just, there's rows and rows of guests here. Guys, relax. I will let you guys have a chance to answer some questions later. We got a packed house here, guys, watching the Oilers-Dallas Stars game, so we're very excited about that. And, you know, a big mention that I must say is we are absolutely blessed to have Mr. Ralsauce in the crowd tonight. Yes, Mr. Ralsauce in the crowd tonight. Guys, check out his podcast. It is Ralsauce on every social media outlet. You got to check this guy out. He is so entertaining. If you think I have some energy, wait till you see Ralsauce, guys. I guarantee it. So big shout out to Ralsauce. Thank you for coming, buddy. I think he's somewhere in the back signing autographs and stuff. Okay, buddy. Yeah, thank you for coming out there, bud. So let's get back to when we were kids and crying on the ice, Nathan. So I also think it's interesting that, you know, you just mentioned, I'm a big believer with siblings having a major role with the development of our personalities. And, you know, you did mention that, you know, your older brother, the fact that you had to play, in this instance, road hockey, the fact that you had to play with your older brother and all his buddies, and, you know, they got age on you, they got weight on you, they got size on you, and yeah, they're going to beat you up a bit, man, because we're kids, and that's what we do when we're kids. But what are the benefits to that? The benefits are you're learning to have thick skin when they're making fun of you. Yeah, you little shit, get the hell, go in net, you little punk, or whatever it was, you know, just any type of little punk off. I think it develops our character, makes our skin thicker, and for guys like me and you that had to be big time role character players, I really hand it to our siblings, man. Like I think all those battles as us as a kid really helped us out in development. What's your opinion on that?
Oh, I agree 100%. Yeah, like me and my brother we spent most of our childhood wrestling. We were both big fans of the WWF, back then.
Oh yeah, big time.
So
big
yeah,
time.
we did watch a lot, but we practiced every move we ever saw, and yeah, it snows. I moved to Owen Sound from Teeswater when I was like 8, and it snows a lot in Owen Sound, especially back then. And we'd shovel all the snow off the roof. Yeah. And we would do wrestling moves off the roof into the snow piles.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
Wow. So off the top rope.
Yeah.
It's funny because, you know, everything, and you know, again, we were blessed to have, you know, my youngest brother Liam McMorrow was joined us on the live pre-show. You know, he has a lot of experience now with wrestling. Potentially could be having a career in wrestling, pro wrestling, and it's just funny how everything's exaggerated. So I could just imagine, like, jumping off the snowbank. You know, you got to hit the elbow twice, and then, you know, boom, and then, you know, just take the guy and boom, right? And like, yeah, so that's awesome, man. So yeah, there was a lot of fun like that when you're a young kid, eh?
Yeah.
Right on. So. I mean, credit to your brother and his friends, man, because they sure helped develop such a strong character. I kind of wanted to continue on this timeline. I wanted to talk about minor hockey. And the point where you started feeling comfortable in hockey. I know that, you know, both of us are very similar. We were pretty big crybabies when we started. We weren't necessarily comfortable, but then we got more comfortable in our own skin, I think, and started embracing and enjoying the game.
Yeah.
Do you remember like that timeline there where you know that you kind of started enjoying yourself a bit more?
Well, I always liked competing, like that part of it, but I wasn't very coordinated, and because I don't see very well, I couldn't really. I'm cross-eyed, right? So strabismus, I believe is how you pronounce it, but. So, you know. So I couldn't play right. But no, because of that, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
But because of my eyesight, I couldn't see so well. So like, because my eyes would switch and they weren't lined up properly. So my right eye was my dominant eye. So I'd get a pass, and I would see it with my left eye, and then it would switch to my right eye, and the puck would actually move in my mind, right? It did never move, so I actually had to learn how to take a pass. I'd have to learn to look away from the puck, if that makes sense.
Okay, no,
if
I
it
know
got
exactly what you
deflected,
mean.
yeah. So I had to develop new little thinking and ways of understanding what's happening and figure it out. It took me a while to to get to that point, and then so by the time I got to Bantam hockey, which I don't know what they call it now.
Yeah,
it's that first year hitting now.
U16 or
yeah, U16.
It's the U everything
U15,
now.
Yeah, U15, I guess.
U15.
Yeah. So when I got to that age, I had a coach that put me on the rep team because I played house league up until then.
Okay.
And then he put me on the rep team, which was a single A team.
Yeah.
And I ended up leading the team in scoring that year, and I had 60 goals. And
no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah,
Man. Hey.
But no, but he believed in me and gave me a chance, and I was starting to develop physically. I was a big kid at that age.
Were you?
Yeah, I was close to 200 pounds at that age.
No way.
Yeah, I was
at 15.
Yeah, I was big.
200 pounds.
Yeah, I was strong.
Wow.
But, and I was pretty lean at that point, but I used to work out a lot and when I was 16 in the OHL, I was 225.
What?
Yeah, when I was in the yeah, I was 17.
And were you an underager?
No, I
Okay,
didn't.
so
I was
regular aged rookie.
No, I was a year late.
You were a year late.
I didn't get drafted my draft year. I played junior C my draft year. And I had an okay year, but I was ranked, but I didn't get drafted.
Yeah.
I didn't have an agent or anything. So then the next year I went to St. Mary's, and we won the Western Junior B Championship. We lost out to Marty Turco's team in the Southern Cup Finals, but then I ended up getting drafted in the second round to Oshawa. As a year late, they have that overage draft now.
Yeah.
They didn't have that back then.
They didn't have that back then. It's
I
very
actually set the
different now.
record back then. I was the highest overage pick of all time. I think someone beat me after that, I ended up so I went to Oshawa and then played with Mark Savard there, and he helped me put the puck in the net a few times.
Boy, I mean,
he was fun to play with.
Yeah, man. I mean, playing with a guy like Mark Savard, you just got to be in the right position. You got to have your stick on the ice, and good things happen when you go to the net. And he might he may bang a couple pucks off your body in the net. You might get a couple of goals from Mark Savard's his creative ways. But I want to get back to what we were just talking about, the eyesight. So you've had that corrected surgically or what? Because buddy, you're definitely not cross-eyed right now.
Yeah, I took
you know what I mean.
glasses
Your fucking eyes look amazing, man. So okay, can you explain that?
So when I was 3, I had muscle surgery. Right?
Okay.
And it didn't work, right? And I was still cross-eyed. Right?
So it's not a sure thing when people get that surgery done. Like it's like they say maybe 60% success rate or.
I honestly don't know why it didn't work or take or whatever.
Okay.
But when I was at the end of my career, I think I was like right before I went to Dallas.
Okay.
It was after the lockout year. I went to a surgeon at the Jules Stein Institute. I forget his name now.
Okay.
I shouldn't remember his name, but he was supposed to be one of the best eye surgeons in all the world, right? Like second best in the world.
Yes.
Or best in the world, right? So he went and I went and saw him, and he was like, okay, we can do this muscle surgery, and you're probably going to see double for the rest of your life, right?
Really?
But I was like, well, okay, well, help me score goals, because I want to be able to put the puck in the net once in a while. Anyway,
so hold on.
So I want to be a better
You're
hockey
going to see
player.
double for the rest of your life.
Well, just because my eyes had a little up and it wasn't just right and left; it was up and down.
Okay.
So to get them exactly lined up perfect, so your brain can accept the information from both eyes and see depth perception the way most people see it.
Okay.
Because I don't see depth perception the similar way because the eyes don't line up. Right?
So here's a question I have for you. So somebody, like anybody on this planet, that is a little bit or a lot cross-eyed, everybody can get that corrected, right?
I believe so, yeah. A lot of times what they do is they'll make you wear a patch as a kid.
Okay.
And try and strengthen your weak eye.
Okay.
And then it'll correct itself sometimes.
Wow.
I'm not an optometrist. I don't know
You're
exactly.
not an optometrist?
No, I've been to
What
the
do
eye
you mean,
doctor
man?
enough. I should know. But
I thought you were an optometrist.
But no, I don't know exactly. Maybe I could some of my information might not be entirely accurate, right?
Yeah,
The technology
right on.
and stuff. But I know there's ways they have lenses they'll put in your glasses called prisms.
Okay.
Prism lenses.
Yep.
And they'll help focus your eye on the same target that you're looking at, and it'll
Yeah.
help develop that strength. And so it's basically your eye's a muscle, and you're working it out to work together. And yeah, it goes that way.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. I kind of wanted to also add to the whole the bullying situation. So you feel that you were bullied when you were younger, not just from your brother and his friends, but like in general, Nathan? Or do you think that was just...
I was definitely teased a bit because
Okay.
of that. I'm bullying, whatever. I don't... I may have brought it on myself too, because
Okay.
I was a bit of a,
A knucklehead?
I like to stir the pot.
Okay.
Yeah, so I remember one time when I was in grade 2. I was still
Grade
living
2?
living in Teeswater,
Yeah.
and I threw yogurt on this kid who was in grade 8, and he took
Whoa.
a branch off a tree and whipped me with it like multiple times, and so. Yeah, it hurt really bad. Maple tree branch. Yeah, nice young one. So it hurt. Anyway, so I went and locked myself at home, and because I lived just like a half a block from the school, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I remember seeing the principal come knock on the door.
No way.
I look up, right? I was just a little kid.
No
I was
way.
like, no, I'm not going back to school today. I just left.
So you went home for lunch?
I went home. No, I went
For
home.
lunch?
For
Or you
the
just
day.
went home,
I just
period?
went home.
Okay.
I just got whipped by a branch. I was staying home. I wasn't going back to school. But
Well, hey,
yeah,
man.
there were some times I got bullied.
I
But I
mean-
mean, whatever. It's, you get teased, and how you going to deal with it. It's, I always tried to stick up for the people that were getting bullied in my
Okay,
life, but,
okay. So you were
yeah.
one of those.
Yeah.
I find that I was too. It really bothered me, man. When there was like a little bit of teasing here and there, like that's okay. Everybody has to keep themselves honest.
Yeah.
Nobody's above anybody else. So I think it's fine for everybody to get teased a little bit. But the bullying, especially how it was like when we were kind of growing up like in minor hockey, like we hear now how there's like zero tolerance policies, especially like in the Ontario Hockey League and like pretty much all of minor hockey, where man, there was a lot of hazing and a lot of bullying, buddy, when we were going through, and especially being a rookie in major junior, even tier 2, junior C, doesn't matter what level it was, but being a rookie at the junior level and higher, man, if you weren't ready to get bullied a little bit or hazed, you simply weren't going to make it, because it was going to happen. And if you couldn't survive that, you weren't going to make it to the next level.
Yeah.
Would
I
you
agree.
agree
I
with that?
agree. Yeah, it happened probably more than it should have. Yeah, but I was lucky especially when I was in Oshawa. Stan Butler was the coach there. And I don't
Big
know-
shout out to Stan Butler.
Yeah,
He's
oh,
got to
yeah.
be up there, and I know Dale Hunter is the winningest coach, but Stan's got to be up there too. Shout out to Stan Butler.
Yeah, no, and he was great for me. Like, love the guy. But he was made sure, I don't know, because he was a teacher or whatever, but he didn't really. It didn't happen when I was in Oshawa, right? Like, we had a rookie party and you had to eat some hot wings or whatever it was, but nothing. It was nothing too serious. It wasn't like any of those horror stories you've heard of, but yeah. So I don't know if it was because he was a new coach or whatever it was,
Yeah.
but he made sure all the older guys knew that wasn't going to be tolerated, so that was good.
Well,
Anyway.
there was no Stan Butlers on some of the teams that I played on, buddy. Because, man, like I remember, man, when I played for the Mississauga Ice Dogs, we had guys on our team like Brian McGrattan, Omar Anafati, Mike Mole. We had a stacked team in Mississauga, even though the team, Jason Spezza, even though the year that Jason Spezza, it was either going to be Jason Spezza or Alex Kovalchuk going first overall. And, Jason Spezza's on the last place team, and everybody knew that he had to be on a winning team if he wanted to have a chance to go first overall in the world in the NHL Entry Draft. He ended up going second. Kovalchuk went first. And, Spezza, obviously, big shout out to Jason, had a really great career. But, man, that team, just to get to my point here, there was a lot of hazing. Man, that the rookie party, oh, my God, like, it might have been it was really good that that the hockey culture in general has kind of changed that aspect of it, because the world we live in now, Nathan, with how soft everything is, how sensitive everybody is now. Everybody's got an excuse for everything. You know, a lot of people aren't really held accountable. You know, I feel really bad for the younger generation, man, with all this COVID effect on us, because, and like, there's no way that the way that the popular culture is now, there's no way that most of these people would have been able to survive some of the things that we had to go through, man, because it was just a lot different, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, that goes, I find that sports and society kind of go hand in hand. Like, you know, with us, for example, you know, there was a role for an enforcer, for a tough guy on every single team. Hockey was a lot more violent before. It was all that was accepted. It was just part of the game. It was part of our thing. You know, 20 years ago, if you smacked your kid, you know, no one would even think twice about it. Now you smack your kid, you might spend a night in jail, and CIS might show up the next day.
Yeah.
So, you know, like society has changed, so is sports. You know, it's all molded to be a little bit softer and sensitive. And, you know, there's pros and cons to all that. You know, you got to take the good with the bad. But Nathan, man, one thing that I know I'm jumping off topic here, but having such a strong career and such a long career, you know, I have some ideas for the NHL implementing kind of the fighting back into the game, but making it safe. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. I just kind of wanted to go along this timeline because your life is so exciting, my friend. So, okay, so now you mentioned earlier that you were a little bit of a late bloomer. You know, you stayed at a certain level until the U15, until the Bantam. Can you explain that again? Like you were at what level until U15?
Well, they called it House League.
You were a House League?
Yeah, well, my major Pee Wee year, which was
13, so grade 8.
Yeah, I played
grade 8.
They had
you were House League in grade 8.
No, in grade 8 I made there was a team between the representative team and the rep team.
Yeah.
And the select, select team. So I played the select team the one year, my major Pee, and I had a good year there too. And the coach there, Bear Malise, he was great to me too. Yeah, anyway,
wow.
He gave me a chance. But I mean, in my first year Pee Wee, minor Pee Wee, I was playing House League.
Holy man, that is incredible. Like nowadays, like if you're not at the AAA level, pretty much from U9 all the way up, you don't even have 1% of a chance to even think of going to junior or anything. So that's how it's different. You know, you got guys like Wayne Simmons. Big shout out to Dub Sims. Guys like Wayne Simmons playing AA his whole life. You know, ending up getting 1,000 NHL games. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nathan Perrott playing House League till the man was grade 7, grade 8. I'm blown away by that, man. That's amazing. So now, once you hit select, what did that do for your confidence? It must have done something.
Well, I was getting stronger and faster, and the coach gave me a chance.
Hey, man, don't get so arrogant, bro.
You know, I was gonna say, no, I wasn't at the time. But you know, like, who's your favorite coach? Well, the one that played you, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, these coaches gave me a chance to play.
Can we shout out a name here? Or?
What? The coach?
The coach.
Well, Blair Merlise, and then it was Glenn Juniper after. Yeah.
Okay, right. Big shout out. Big shout out.
Yes.
Yeah, man, you did it. You got this guy going.
Glenn has passed away since, but
okay.
I haven't talked to Blair in a while. But
God bless his soul.
Yes.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. Awesome. So now, let's move along the timeline a little bit. I want to get into. So you 15. Now we're in select. Grade 8. We're in select. Now we're moving up. Now, what about now? You were an overage, that overage year for the draft, which is the year after the normal rookie age. Yeah. Let's go to that year. So the year before the Oshawa Generals.
Yeah, I was playing in St. Mary's, Ontario.
Okay. Yeah. So St. Mary's, Ontario. Yeah. What kind of numbers are we putting up in St. Mary's, Ontario?
I barely made the team. I remember a guy that was already on the team. Mike DeGurse.
Okay.
Do you remember?
I know the name.
Yeah. He played in the Central League.
Okay.
Great guy. Tough too, really tough, and good goal scorer. So we ended up living in this trailer for training camp, me, him, and another player.
Really?
So we're in this like camper of one of the people on the executive, right?
Yeah.
So
was it a nice camper? Or?
It was a little. It was a trailer camper. I don't know. It had a bed. It was great. I loved it. It was fun. Anyway, but so we're playing the Nationals, London Nationals, and it was like I think it was the last exhibition game or second last exhibition game, and Mike was like in the second intermission, he's like, Nathan, you gotta fight. If you don't fight, you're not gonna make the team, right?
Okay.
So I went out and I fought their tough guy who was a 20-year-old bouncer, worked at some bar in London. Big guy, your height, you know, 220, 230, whatever he was.
Man.
And I did really well. I did really well in the fight, and then they signed me the next day.
They signed you the next day.
They did, yeah.
And yes, we clapped for each other.
Yeah, it was
we
good.
clapped for each other around here.
So Terry Uniacke was the coach, and and I'm still friends.
Uniacke, that's a powerful sounding name, man.
Yeah, he was a scout with. I think he's still scouting. He was scouting with London for a while, but then he was with Belleville. I'm not sure. I think he still works with London, but I'm not sure. But I still keep in touch with him once in a while on social media. But yeah, so we had a really good team that year. They put together a great team, and we ended up, I think out of the 48-game schedule, we won 42 games. And in the first, I think I had 32 fights that year, and you get kicked out after your first fight. So I fought almost every game. But especially early on in the season, because I never played in the third period. I'd get a couple shifts in the first, and a couple shifts in the second, and I knew the second shift, I better go fight someone because I'm not getting back on the ice. So if I'm going to sit, I might as well sit in the stands and watch, right? Instead of in 5 minutes. So I did that for a while, and then after Christmas, my skills started catching up, and then, so in playoffs, I was on the first line, and then I think we were playing Mark Hunter's team. He was with Peoria.
Peoria.
And we ended up beating him in the championship in Game 6, and I scored a couple goals that game. And had,
no big deal.
No big deal. Yeah, I scored the game winner and all that. But
the G-Dub.
Yeah, G-Dub. But yeah, we had a great team. We had a lot of guys drafted to the OHL that year. And they go to the younger guys, and John Tripp was on that team.
John Tripp.
I don't remember John
Tripp. Yeah. Okay, right on.
Yeah, and we both got drafted in the second round to Oshawa that year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and Tripper, awesome guy, great hockey player. Yeah.
Nathan, why is it that like when we were young lads, 15, 16, playing junior, why is it that the tough guys on the other teams were all 20-year-olds? They were all like how you mentioned, they were like bouncers, or they're already like somehow they're like pro boxers already, and they're 20 years old, or like what like that was like I found it amazing. Like my 16-year-old season playing for the Pickering Panthers, it seemed like every tough guy was a 20-year-old man. Yeah. They were all 20. Like it's like the mandate is like you had to be 20 and big and crazy if you were going to be a tough guy in hockey. And I think for us, like being rookies and taking on those older guys, I think that really helped us. Like especially when we got to Major Junior, because I mean. It's like those years in your teenage life, there's big development year by year compared to any other phase of your life. You know what I mean? Like 16 to 18 is like such a big deal, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like night and day. I find it incredible just thinking back. Like do you ever just think back and be like, man, I was 16 years old fighting the biggest and oldest guy on the other team, like.
Yeah,
hey buddy, what was wrong with us?
I remember going to training camp when you're 18 in the NHL, and you're like, I think it was my second day, or it was either my first day or second day. I fought Chris Oliwa.
Christoph Oliwa?
Yeah, and I caught him with a little left jab into the eye, so I might have did a little bit better than I could have.
Well, how big is I know Oliwa's huge. How big is Oliwa? And did he have how long was his hair?
No, Oli's he's maybe a little misunderstood, but great guy. But he's tough.
Huge man, though. No, like we're talking like what, 6'5", 6'6"?
I was 18, and just drafted, and I think he was a few years older than us, right? He'd be. 53 now, maybe?
Yeah, probably something like that.
He was in pro for a while. before then. But yeah, so but what are you gonna do? You're a tough guy. You get drafted.
Yeah.
You go fight the tough guy, right?
Exactly. Christoph Oliwa, man, that's a name that I haven't heard in a long time. Have you crossed paths with that guy? Like,
he knows a guy I'm really good friends with.
Okay.
And they live down in Jersey. Mark Puttenvink is his name. He was strength coach for New York Rangers for a bit.
Right on.
Worked with Albany and the Devils organization.
The River Rats.
The River Rats, yeah. So he keeps me updated on Oli stories. But yeah.
Right on. Yeah. I want to ask you about, like, okay, so when you got to the Oshawa Generals, like, I remember the last time you were here, Nathan, I was explaining in the intro, a story about how my first OHL experience watching a game, I think the Edmonton Oilers may have scored another goal here, ladies and gentlemen. Nope, they're just showing again that first goal. It is currently 1-0 Edmonton against Dallas, ladies and gentlemen. This is very exciting that we got a Canadian team that is actually has a shot at the Stanley Cup. Just going off topic a little bit here, us being a live show, we can be like that. We can mention what's happening right now. So I wanted to see. I'm going off topic so much that I'm forgetting the point of why I'm even bringing it up.
Game.
But first game. So I want to talk about Oshawa Generals, your first game. I want to talk about how you adjusted to the big crowds, because I find that with our role, I found that I had to I guess the best way to explain it for me is I had to kind of identify with, I had to be comfortable kind of almost with the arena, with everything, with the crowd. I had to be comfortable with everything, because if you think about it, Nathan, during that minute long or however long the battle is, we are like a special show for the game. There's the anticipation of the battle. There's the build-up to the battle. There's, putting out the challenge for the battle. Getting the challenge accepted and knowing that it's going to happen for sure. And then once you know it's going to happen, let's say you're skating around in warm-up and, I'm playing against you and, we're stretching, whatever, and it's are we going to go tonight or what, buddy? And you're like, yeah, fucking right we are. And then it's you got to keep playing the role, but in your mind it's holy shit, it's really going to happen. It's going to happen right away probably. Yeah. Okay, so we're getting the water in. I remember knowing if I knew that a scrap was going to happen the next shift, I couldn't even tell you how many times I'd be squirting the Gatorade in the water, because I'd be like, just making sure I'm all, just got all the water in me. Okay, make sure my mouth's sweat. Okay, I need some more. You gotta get some more. Come on, Mac, good job. Hearing all this, come on, Mac, you got it, Mac. I'm like, you guys, be quiet, man. I'm trying to prepare. I'm nervous. Okay, did you get nervous and have anxiety before every fight?
When I was younger, yes.
Okay.
You couldn't sleep the night before, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But as I got older, and I was somehow in my mind I realized, okay, if I'm gonna have to fight tonight, I don't want to think about it because it makes me nervous.
Okay.
So I'm gonna worry about playing hockey. I'm gonna play hockey, and if something happens in the game that's gonna cause me to fight, it's gonna make me scared. I'm gonna just do it, because what I know is if something's scary, it's probably an opportunity to do something really good.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
so
true.
Just go do it. If
Okay.
it's scary, go do it. But if I'm thinking about it too much beforehand, I'll get too nervous and I won't be able to play hockey well.
Yeah.
I couldn't because I'm tired. I'm squeezing my stick too hard.
Yeah.
And that stuff. Just go play, run around, hit guys, and do what I can to get in a fight.
Yeah.
Make someone want to fight me.
Force it.
And then when it happens, I'll just do it, and then it'll be over. And hopefully I end up on top. But
for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, it took me a while to get to that realization. I think it was middle of my pro career before I realized that. But it was hard though, because you're fighting guys that fight guys like you. It could be the last time you get on the ice, because end guys' careers and ended a few, and I'm not proud of it. But back then. Remember Frankie Bialois? Remember
Oh
Frankie?
yeah. No,
Yeah, I remember.
he's been a guest on the
Yeah,
show. Great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, great guy. I played with him in
We're talking
my
about
second year.
we're talking about the animal.
The
right?
animal.
The animal, Frank Bialois, man.
Woo! He punched the guy in the helmet. Sean Penn. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
Hit him in the helmet. The helmet
Not
broke
the
in half.
actor, Sean
I saw it. No, not the actor. Yeah, not the actor. But I saw it. It was in Fort Wayne. He hit him in the helmet, and the helmet cracked. And
Exploded.
it fell off his head. I was like, Frankie, you tell me. I ended 10 guys' careers, and I was like, you fight guys like him, and like George. I never fought George the Rock, and I'm glad I didn't because he probably would ended my career because that's how I got my call up. Actually, he ended Stu Grimson's career in Nashville.
Okay.
And then I got my chance. They called me up.
So the Grim Reaper and George's, who's also been a guest on the show. Big shout out to Mr. Big George LaRock.
Yeah.
So George's, I like saying it like that just because en français they have the ES at the end, right? So George's and the Grim Reaper went, and George's ended the Grim Reaper's career. And that was Nashville.
Yeah, in 2002, and so I got called up. Yeah, and,
Were you watching that game? And
no. I was playing in Milwaukee. I was on Milwaukee.
Yeah,
they called me up, and I met Stu, and great guy, awesome guy, but he was like, he was having all kinds of issues with concussions. He said he'd take his dog for a walk, and he'd get to the end of his driveway, and all of a sudden he'd have a massive migraine, and have to lay down in his front yard because his head hurt so bad, right?
Really?
Yeah, and just his heart rate would get a little too high from walking his dog. And
wow.
So yeah, he got hurt pretty good now. But Stu was one of the tougher guys ever played
of all time.
Of all time, yeah.
So my question to you and Grim Reaper, man, don't just relax, okay? We're just having fun with this. So did the Grim Reaper, Stu Grimson, did he sound like a science professor his whole life? Because I find that
he's a really smart man.
Stu Grimson
He's a lawyer.
Because man, does he ever sound smart and important? Like, man, this guy, and then like the glasses that he puts on, like he would pass for a professor in Harvard University.
Well, I don't know which school he went to, but he's a lawyer.
Okay, so he really plays the part.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's a smart man. Like he's really smart. Yes,
Stu
and he's
Grimson
always had that kind of
wise. So viewers and listeners, for you guys that don't know, we're smart guys too. You know what I mean? Like we're entertainers. We're tough, whatever, thick skin, whatever, all that kind of beautiness. But sometimes we're smart too, man. Like me and Nathan are smart too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we're smart, man. We're smart.
SMRT.
So, oh man, that's awesome. So, all right. So I was with the Oshawa, with the Oshawa Generals timeline. I think it's so cool that you played for Oshawa, man. They have you been to the new arena?
I have.
You seen it?
Yes. I played a game there with the Leafs alumni against the Montreal Canadiens alumni.
No way.
And it was the hardest
at that arena.
Yeah.
They call it the Tribute, I believe. Tribute Center.
Yeah, there was a GM something.
It was before.
Yeah. So that's when it was.
Okay.
GM. I actually was at the groundbreaking ceremony.
Were you really?
There, yeah, because I was playing for the Leafs and I got to go stick a shovel in the dirt. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was one of the cool things about playing for the Leafs. They used to get to do some cool stuff.
Yeah, man.
They still do. The alumni, Toronto Maple Leafs alumni they treat us amazing. Yeah.
Well, that's what when Anthony Stewart was on the show, he was explaining there was a time in his career where he had a 1-year offer from the Toronto Maple Leafs, but he had a 2-year offer from the Carolina Hurricanes. And it's kind of like, when you're in your 30s and you're not sure like how much longer you're going to play for, and it's, a 1-year, $1 million offer or a 2-year, 1.8. You kind of got to go for that 1.8. It takes, in other jobs, it takes a long time to make up $800,000, right? Yeah. So, Anthony, you made the right choice, buddy. But he was saying, like, if he had gone to Toronto, the fact that he's a Toronto resident, living in Toronto now, all the opportunities of being on the alumni and whatnot. And, Leafs Nation, I've been all over you guys lately. And I know that the majority of Leaf followers are happy that I'm doing this because, you know, we gotta make people accountable. And I haven't really been criticizing so much, but I haven't been criticizing so much, but I'm addressing certain issues that I think a lot of people are a little bit upset about, because obviously it was another disappointing year. Nathan, how did you deal? I know I'm going off topic now, but how did you deal with that, buddy? How did you deal with that as a former player? Buddy, I know we say it every year. I really thought, man, I really did think this was the year. Did you?
I was hoping, but, you know, the goalie got hurt. You know, I don't know.
All right, well, listen.
I'll say this.
Before we get into I got to interrupt you because before we get into this, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see the extended version, check out our Patreon at www.patreon.com/The Sheriff Podcast. Woo! Nathan Perrott, thank you for coming on the show, my man. Yeah. I appreciate you so much, bro. Oh yeah, buddy. I'm so excited for you, man. I'm so excited. I want to thank the viewers and listeners for tuning into another episode of The Sheriff. We'll see you next time, guys. Woo!
Where the London Knights are up 2-1 against my other former team, the Oshawa Generals.
Okay, I'm just following you.
Great job, brother. Great job. Great job. Great job. Great job.